All right, good morning, Thursday, August 27th, 2025. I was beginning to think, because this has never happened before, that maybe somehow I put this live video feed in a wrong department because nobody was coming on. That just never happened before. I don't know. I thought, or maybe I uploaded something that, like, yes, shouldn't have. But everything seems to be all good at the moment. So good morning to everybody on this Thursday morning at 6:09 in the year 2568, or on the Gregorian calendar 2025. 2568 is the Buddhist calendar. Excuse me. Yeah, so Scott 74, what's up, brother? Good morning. How you doing? Good to see you. Happy to see you. Yesterday it was a blast out. Tried to do a stream, but like the water had overflown over the bridge. I tried to go over the bridge and I almost wiped out. Then I was like, you know what? There's no way. Well, because I ended up taking a motorbike, that I was going to get any kind of exercise in. But I had to do a couple of errands for a friend of mine. So that's what I did, and it was real short. But anyway, it was kind of a sour day yesterday. I have to admit, it was a bit of a sour day. I don't know if any of you guys had heard me yesterday talking about this, but I've been married to a Thai woman for about over 25 years, and living in Thailand mostly over the last 30, it's coming on 30 years now that I've been living most of my life in Thailand, right? So now, because I used to say 25, but I really want to think about it. It's like over the last 30 years, although I did make one trip back to the United States for a couple of years to take care of some things, right? So, Xfinity, good morning, brother. How you doing? Xfinity says, hey, what's up? Just in time for the stream. Fantastic. Happy to hear that you're here. I hope that you are having a wonderful and blessed day. We are having a wonderful and blessed day here. The rain has stopped and things are, they're cool. I was just getting into the story about why I had a sour day yesterday. I don't know if you heard it, but I'll just quickly reiterate that, I've been living in Thailand for 30 years, with the exception of a few years that I did go back and live in the United States by myself. And not because I wanted to get away from my wife or anything like that, but I had to work. I wanted to make sure that I had enough credits for Social Security. Basically, that was my concern. Anyway, that's just a byproduct of the story. So yesterday was the day that, okay, so here's the thing. When you come to Thailand, everybody needs a visa, right? Some countries, if you come in through the airport, you don't need to previously go to a consulate or immigration office or anything like that. You basically just take your passport, get on a plane, get off. When you get to the airport, you walk through customs, and they'll stamp your passport, and it's called a visa on arrival. And when you get that visa on arrival, it's free. You have basically 90 days to stay inside the kingdom of Thailand, and that's fine, but that's not the kind of visa. I mean, that is the kind of visa that I get when I come here, because I don't feel like I mean, I haven't done it in so long, going to the consulate or doing this, and you'll have to do all this paperwork and stuff like that, and it just doesn't make any sense. And you have to spend some money. I don't know how much it is these days, but it's totally unnecessary. All you gotta do is, for some countries has visa restrictions, so you gotta check. But yeah, so basically you get off the airport, boom, stamp your visa, good for 90 days. It's not the kind of visa that I need to stay. Well, normally, so I had for the longest time, I had what was called a marriage visa. And because I'm married, documented, both in the Thai law authorities. There's someplace in Bangkok that we went so many years ago. I don't know what it's called or whatever, but it's like maybe called the marriage ministry, Department of Ministry. They use ministries, not departments. That's what they call them. Probably in a lot of countries, they just call them ministries too, like the Ministry of Motor Vehicles and stuff like that. Xfinity says, random question, but why don't you ride a tuk-tuk or a moped or motorcycle on your way? It's probably much faster and convenient for you. Oh, yeah, I definitely could do that. But really the whole point in how this all got started was I was weighing 116 kilo, like 116, 117 kilo. And pounds, so it's like there are 2.2 pounds per kilo, right? So if you multiply 117 by 2.2, you're going to get like 265 pounds, I think, somewhere around there. Anyway, that's too heavy for me. I am 6'2"-ish. I'm a little bit taller, but, it was just it's too much weight for me. And so this just started like when I got back to Thailand, because I had put on a lot of weight in the United States when I'd gone back. And the reason I put a lot of weight on the United States is, number one, I was driving for a living. I was making my living as I was doing Instacart and like whatever gig work was available and stuff like that. I was doing that, but I was also driving box trucks and stuff like that. I mean, like when you go back to a country, even like let's say all my family in the United States is pretty much dead, So like when I went back, and forget about my family. More importantly, because these are the people that I associate were my friends. All my friends were either dead, in jail, or moved on or whatever. I mean, I couldn't find all the old crew and everything like that. Because my family, they weren't going to find me a job. But if I could get with my old crew, the people that I knew, you find work, But they were all gone, because I'd been gone so long, and most of my friends most of the people who, are my friends are at least 20 years older than me. And I can get into that as to how that happened when I was like 14, 15. But anyway, we're talking about the visa thing, right? So yesterday was day before yesterday was supposed to be a good day on the 26th, right? So, I had my money in the bank. So in order to have a marriage visa, you have to have what's like 400,000 baht in the bank. That's like $12,500. If you're not married, you can get a retirement visa. And if you get a retirement visa, you would need 800,000 baht in the bank, which is about $25,000, right? Which you have to keep in the bank for, I think it's like 3 months. So you have a bank statement that says you have the, set amount of money inside the bank for the period of time that is required. And I did all that, and so on the 26th, I went in, drove over there with my wife. We had our paperwork. We'd done everything right, got all our bank statements and everything like that, whatever. Everything's in order. And I get in there to this office, and I go sit down, whatever, I have like a sitting area. My wife, I speak Thai, but like my wife speaks Thai. She's born here, She speaks Thai a lot better than me. So, I can speak Thai a little bit. But my wife had the paperwork. She wants to be in control of the situation. That's fine, whatever. I mean, I'm happy for you, right? You know, because she's going to take care of it. I'm sitting there for like 3 minutes. You know, Guy, what's up, brother? Good morning to you. I hope you're all well and good wherever you are on this planet. It is August 28th on a Thursday. Is it Thursday? Yeah, it's Thursday. Thursday morning at 6:19 in the year 2568 in the Buddhist calendar, and on the Gregorian calendar is the year 2025. And if you're just like chilling on this planet Earth rock, it's just like today. Right? Because these are all made up numbers anyway, right? So anyway, so I pull up and I sit down, you know, and Xfinity says it seems like a lengthy process. It really isn't a lengthy process if you do things right. You know, if you do things the right way, follow the law and stuff like that. And that's exactly what I did, right? So I sit down. It was like probably less than 5 minutes. My wife says, game, manima. And all right, so I get up and I walk over to the counter. And so, you know how like bureaucratic offices work? They work like this. And they work this in the United States also. I'm sure this is the way they work all over the world. But they work something like this, where they have like the counter. And at the counter, there are windows and stalls or whatever, you know? So they have like, say, five working people at the counter. So you can go to counter number 1, counter number 2, and so on, right? I think our counter was actually counter number 5 yesterday. But anyway, called us over, get over to counter number 5, right? And I'm standing there trying to, you know, wondering what this, I'm expecting to be told to sign paperwork, because that's what you're supposed to, that's what happens. You have to sign paperwork. But in this process of going to a bureaucratic office, they have the counter people. Behind the counter people are usually, if it's a small office, either 1 or 2 individuals who have a desk behind them, right? So now we're going like up the ladder, right? Up the power ladder, right? So they're sitting behind there. There was, I think it was only one lady actually sitting behind there. And, you know, I just looked at her, and immediately, like I saw her, like she didn't realize I was looking at her, and she had an expression on her face, right? Xfinity says, I always hated going to those types of places, very low and slow and frustrating. Yeah. Danielle, good morning. How you doing, brother? Yes, this is Thailand. It is August. It's August. Sorry for the brain doesn't always work so well. It's August 28th. In the Buddhist calendar is the year 2568, and in the Gregorian calendar is year 2025. But we don't really need to use those because we're all living in the present, right? Oh my goodness. I think a fly flew down my throat. Anyway, we're living in the present, so really numbers, those kind of numbers are kind of irrelevant. But if you look at my channel and you look at the video I did about Epicurus, the Greek philosopher, and Pythagoras, who was like a famous mathematician, you'll find out what they thought about numbers. I mean, they might have been great mathematicians, but they were batshit crazy when it came to certain things. So go on over to the channel after the stream and check that out. I guarantee you'll be entertained. If not, I'll give you money back. Anyway, so I'm in the office, right? I got counter people, got the manager in the back, and she's talking to my wife, and she doesn't notice that I'm looking at her, right? So she has a certain facial expression on her face, and this is the kind of like furrowed brow, I'm in power, I'm in charge kind of look, right? And you know, I was talking two days ago. We were talking about faces. None of us are born with faces, right? So you can't tell, like, look at somebody and say, "Oh, that's a murderer" or something like that, just by looking at their face. But what you are born with is the ability to make faces and expressions. And so I'm looking at her expression on her face, right? And and that's what I'm picking up. And and at this point, I'm listening. I'm catching on some words or whatever and stuff like that. I actually caught on quite a bit. And then she notices that I'm watching, that I'm looking at her, and she changes her face, her facial expression, to a more neutral one, right? See, now I'm picking up because I was born on the streets. I know what's going on. I know what's up. She's basically. I know at this instant that whatever my translation is, or what I think this lady is saying, I know that she's trying to bully my wife. She with that facial expression, because she turned to me and faced me with a facial expression of neutrality. So that's something you can like pick up on right away, which I picked up on. It's a very good skill to have, by the way. If you haven't thought about these things, sometimes you just do them subconsciously. But anyway, so yada yada yada. The story goes on. She said my wife said that, tells me in English that she just said that she said to me that why don't I keep my money in the bank a month longer? And now it's my turn to furrow my brow. I start to furrow my own brow. Arun sawat sabadi lupao. Yeah, so I furrow my brow a little bit. But here's the problem is that, like, it's hard to control emotions sometimes. So, like, I didn't do anything, and I didn't say anything. But, like, my brow's getting furrowed, and I know that, like, I'm smelling bullshit. And when I start to smell bullshit, especially when I feel like it's being bullshit that's being perpetrated upon me or my family or anything like that, I start to have, like, sort of, like, I guess you could call them, well, I would be careful what I say here, but violent thoughts, I guess. Which I try to relieve myself every single day, because that's not the way you're supposed to live your life. I don't get violent anymore, or anything like that. I've managed to overcome that part of my life a long time ago. But the thoughts still persist sometimes, And so, anyway. All right. Free Convo says, Trump, ice, ice, baby. I was wondering when that song was going to... First of all, I was thinking about that song by Vanilla Ice. It's a classic song. It's fantastic and it's wonderful. And it represented, at the time and still today, what it represents has nothing to do with the Trump organization or ICE or anything like that. I was waiting for somebody to pick up on that, because it's total bullshit. And if you ask Vanilla or any of his friends or any people who are in the music business or any of the people he lived with or whatever, it has nothing to that. That he's got nothing to do with that. So that's the bastardization of a classic song, of which I have a story about that too, because I was in music business myself, which I don't know if I've gone into it too much, but I grew up with Jay-Z. Well, not with him, but in presence around Biggie. His name was Christopher. I remember him, a short little fat kid, but everybody, he was kind of smart, you kind of knew he was smart even back then. And You know, I dated a manager, wife of Usher. You know, was like my first girlfriend. You know, I mean, you know, half my family is white, half of my family is black. You know, whatever. You know, whatever. You know, whatever. You know. So I only had good things to say about Ice and that song because it didn't represent any kind of like. It represents unity. You know, and the song is fucking dope just to be on top of it too. So I don't know. Anyway, you can say whatever you want, Convo. I'm not going to slam you for your politics or whatever. You know, there's the old saying, I might not believe what you say, but I'll fight for your right to say it. Xfinity gives up the question mark. I don't know if you're saying that the question mark's for free convo, but it might be. And obviously, I just stopped asking questions of people who are so opinionated and so because they're programmed, they're brainwashed. So I kind of don't even waste my time trying to like. It's not my job in life is not to deprogram people, which maybe I should. Maybe I should be trying to deprogram people and stuff like that. But my job in life now, as I see it, is to pass on the ideals of spirituality and gratefulness and gratitude, and to really try to emphasize, no matter what your religious background is or whatever, that you know, goodness exists in this world. Most people are not as evil as like some of the most evil people, but it's a spectrum, right? So if you go on that spectrum from evil to good, you know, you're gonna like, there's all sorts of, you know, variations in between the absolutes. So anyway, so that's my goal is to really just to be grateful for everybody in the chat and grateful that everybody, you know, that people come. And I always say this, and I'll just say it real quick, just as a reminder, and maybe one day I'll get tired of saying it, but right now I'll say it. Look at that sky. Oh my goodness, that sky there. There isn't a man alive on this planet who has enough money, gold bars, or silver coins to pay for that. And it gives us life. And it's beautiful. And no human being can recreate in a painting or in a computer program the beauty of that sky. And I'm very grateful to see it this morning because it's absolutely lovely. And I'm glad it's still there. Because if it wasn't there, you woke up one day and it wasn't there, you'd find out pretty quick you were in a lot of trouble. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, so Exodus is, I don't know what he meant, but my favorite line from this stream, and it's true as well, much appreciated, got you, and, you know, everybody's entitled to their politics and everything like that, you know. Listen, I'll just tell you, like I am, I'm going to use a line from Chris Rock. So Chris Rock said this: when it comes to my money, I am very conservative. But when it comes to women, I'm extremely liberal. You know what I'm saying? So, you know what I mean? That's how I feel. Well, whatever. I don't know what party that puts me in, but I'm at the party. Anyway, so I'm like, get back to the story about going into this office, right? So like, she looks over at me, she puts on a face of neutrality, and now I know something's up. And my wife tells me, she says, why don't you, you know, keep your money in the bank for another month? I said, well, why would I do that? I followed the rules. I did everything that I was supposed to do, right? I'm supposed to be able to stamp Visa, right? And then she says to my wife, which I caught on, she says, well, why do I want to take my money out of my bank account so fast? Now, I don't know where she got that from, but like, it's none of her fucking business. when I follow the rules, I leave it in exactly the amount of time that is processed or whatever. I leave that money in there. All is good. I dotted my I's, I crossed my T's, I did everything right. Arun Swat Kunta, Sabari Lupa. Oh, Madaluz, Kai Muyang. Ani Muyang, Shame?
แซ่บครับ
ห
หมูปิ้งนมสด
Oh,สดโอเคพรุ่งนี้ผมจะมาเก็ตนน
มาเที่ยวหรือมีแฟนที่ดอกคำใต้
อ๋อเหรอผมอยู่หมู่หมู่เก้า
เขา
บุญก่อนยาย
มีแฟน
ฟีมีแพนเรีย
ภรรยา
no แพนเรียเมียผมมีเมีย30 ปีแล้ว how are you
ลูกไหนมา
how are you 30 ปีแล้ว
โอ้
มีเมียเดียว
เมียเดียวเอาอีกเมียไหมเดี๋ยวหาให้
บ่ได้ถ้าหากว่ามีเมียน้อยจะจนเร็ว
วันหลังมาอุดหนุนป้าตุ๋ยเด้อที่หมูปิ้งเด้อ
ครับผมปะอรุณสวัสดิ์พี่ลุงอรุณสวัสดิ์ so hey, good morning. How you doing, brother? Good to see you again. I recognize it as the same name as before, but the problem is, yes, I'm in Thailand. ผมอยู่ประเทศไทยประมาณ25 ปีแล้วแล้วก็ผมมีภรรยา25 ปีกว่าแล้ว so เราที่บ้านเมืองดอกคำไทยพะเยา so anyway, the thing is, the lady starts looking at me, right? She goes back and says, why don't I want to take the money out, blah, blah, blah. And I'm thinking, like, at that time, I did everything I was supposed to do, and what the fuck? You know what I'm saying? And so then they see me and they see that I have my brows furrowed, right? And the manager stops acknowledging my presence and says something to her counterperson, right? And so what she said to her counterperson is that, why was I concerned about taking money out of the bank? They would not give me my visa until another 2 days later. And I'm like, wow, is this what I think it is? I'm beginning to think, because I know about certain situations in visa offices, that, some things go under the table and stuff like that. That's if you don't have the money. But I have the money. My money's up. You know what I mean? I did everything right. You ain't gonna get any extra payments out of me just because you want to buy a new ring or a dress or help pay for your BMW or your Mercedes Benz or anything like that. Arun swat yai. Sabari lupa. You understand what I'm saying? So like that's what I'm saying, because I'm thinking, man, here it comes. It's coming. So I'm getting ready to set the place on fire. You know what I mean? Like not literally, but like, I'm getting heated, And my wife just drags me out of there. She didn't drag me out of there, whatever. She's just like, said, let's go. All right, let's go. All right. So left, and like sitting in a pickup truck. My wife's driving back. I'm trying to explain to my wife what I think, but like she doesn't think that way, It's like so like all of a sudden now I've got some cognitive dissonance. Cognitive dissonance is when, I don't know, for those of you who do not know what cognitive dissonance is like you could be talking to somebody or talking with somebody, right? And you start along the same line of communication, which is some sort of a linear thing, and then cognitive dissonance is when like there's a fork in the conversation, and either one or both of you aren't understanding what the other one is saying. And at that point, communication is lost. And that's when actually, Arun Sawat, that's actually when, if you don't know people, if you don't know people or something like that, where you could actually get into a confrontation. It's called cognitive dissonance, right? And be aware of that. You're going to save yourself a lot of time and energy, because when it arises, you can either try to reiterate your point or say time out, hold on a second, or you just shut up and let that person go on, and hopefully you just can walk away or whatever. I can't walk away. So there's like that cognitive dissonance. And I was trying to explain to her, I think this lady wants a bribe. She wants me to pay her money. They want to make trouble for me, because why else would they tell me to, keep my money in the bank longer than I was supposed to? Because in my mind, once I have done that, once I've left the money in the right time that's designated, and I'm supposed to have my visa, if I wanted to, I should have the right to take all my money out of the bank and throw it in the river. If I wanted to. Arun Sawat, if I wanted to, I have the right. It's none of her business what I do with my money. So long as I follow the rules, I follow the rules. So why do you want to know what I'm doing with my money? Is she going to ask me in 6 months from now, did I hit the lottery? Did I go broke? Is she going to lend me money if I need it? Or is she going to ask to borrow some if she needs some money? I don't know. It's none of her fucking business. No? You know what I'm saying? So, I'm sorry. I try to keep a limit to the profanity, words on the stream and everything like that. But that really heated me up yesterday, so 2 days ago. But today is the second day. We're supposed to go in, and we'll see what happens. If they ask me for any, if there's any kind of a bullshit, whatever, or anything like that, I'm just gonna tell them, listen, I'm not paying. I'm not paying. I did everything I was supposed to. Now, at that point, I will just walk out and get a lawyer, or find out how much a lawyer costs. Because I would want criminal charges pressed against this lady. Obviously, that's something like we're talking about walking up Mount Everest, But that's me and the part of my brain that wants retribution, And so I could try to hire a lawyer, or I could go to another province, maybe somewhere, and take care of it there. But I would have to wait. I mean, it's a hassle. It's a very big hassle. And I told him, I said, listen, if you're going to give me these kind of problems over my visa when I'm doing everything legal, I'm a legal immigrant. I've done everything legally, and I'm getting these problems. And so, this might be a result of Trump's immigration policy over there. I actually thought about that. How are Americans going to be treated at immigration offices, even if they do things legally, across the world, with this, chaos in the United States. Now, I happen to be a person who believes in legal immigration, not illegal immigration. So I think illegal aliens, illegal immigrants shouldn't be in these places, but I'm legal, So we'll find out later today. We're going to go into that office, and we're going to find out. We'll see what she has to say, see if she wants me to jump through some hoops, bark like a dog, get on my knees. I don't know. See what that is. I'll find out what my limits are when I get to that point. But I just thank goodness I'm able to talk to you guys about this before everything happens, because I don't want to do something that I would regret, or say something I would regret or present myself in a way that could be damaging to myself and to the face of my wife. You know, I mean, like, you know what I mean, like, you know, guilty by association. If I went in there and say, you fucking blah 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 blah, whatever, and now my poor wife, who never gets into it with anybody, you know, she's next to me, and everybody says, oh, you're the wife of that asshole. You know, and everybody could justify things. You'll find the most amazing justifications anybody can make for doing anything. You know, I always said it. Like, if you're a thief, I don't condone thievery or anything like that, but don't make an excuse like, you know, like somebody's of a color, that's the reason you're going to steal from them, or somebody has on a different color shirt, and that's the reason, or I think he looked at me, or some whatever bullshit. You know, if you know, I like a good honest thief. Comes up to you and says, listen, I'm very sorry about this, but I'm going to have to take your money because I don't have any. And listen, I'm not even going to take all your money. I just give me X, Y, and Z, what you got in your pockets. And you keep the cab fare, go home. I'm broke, you're not. And I'm very sorry. So, you know, just try to manage, you know, handle your business in a gentlemanly way. Anyway, we're at this beautiful vista point, and at this point we are looking west. And west we see the mountains with the clouds up in the air. And if we kept on walking west, we would walk through the mountains to Shan State, which is not recognized by the United Nations. Would walk through that state. It's like sort of actually kind of like an illegal state. And we'd walk through there, keep walking. You end up in a place called Myanmar, which used to be called Burma. They're having a civil war. I don't recommend anybody to go there right now because that shit's crazy over there right now. And then if you kept walking across Myanmar, if you walked high north enough, you would run into Bangladesh. But you'd have to be really north, and we're not really, really north. So if we kept walking, we'd end up in the Indian Ocean. So that's west. And then we're going to take a look and see if the star of our show is out today. I love that one. Oh, I'll be honest with you. And don't let me say it went over your head, right? Okay, so now we're looking east, dead east. And the star of our show isn't here, also known as the sun. But it is still a wonderful, beautiful day. And we can enjoy it. And that's due east. And if you kept on walking east from here, you would run into the mountain range of Laos. And you keep walking, you would end up in Vietnam. Keep walking through Vietnam, you'll end up in the Pacific Ocean. And if you're a good enough swimmer, you'll be able to swim to Hawaii or even California. But other than that, I wouldn't advise, you know, that as I wouldn't take my directions literally. All right, Scott74 says, easier said than done, but take a breath and get a lawyer if it goes south. But I'm betting it will work out. Well, I really appreciate that, you know, and I'm you know, you being here in the chat and others in the chat, it helps me put things into perspective, you know, and it's when people stop thinking. It's like when they react and not respond, that's when people get into trouble. And I don't want to react. I want to think about what I'm doing. I want to think about what I'm saying and stuff like that. So this is like sort of a form of meditation, I would suppose. Here we are at this Salonius, who I forget who it was yesterday. Looked it up, told me the name of it, but I don't know. I don't remember. Salonia, something like that. Xfinity says, some advice for you. I don't know if this will help you or not, but also try to voice record the whole conversation you're gonna have once you eventually get to the place, so you can prove there was foul play. Right. So that's actually one of the things that I thought about. Mua Kai. แป๊บนึงไม่เป็นไร ลูกมีหมวกหล่อมากๆมีแฟนหรือยังมีแฟนหรือยังครับผมครับผมโอเคสักทีไปเรียนนะ Okay, so yeah, what were we saying? Yeah, so that was like one of my initial things that I was thinking about doing is like, like planning, like, I'm going to have that thing on voice record. I'm going to go in and I'm going to do that. And it's still not off the table yet. It isn't off the table. I'm going to have to think about that too, because I'd have to like think about like the kind of exposure, because it is illegal to film or record inside that office. And so I don't want to be in a situation where I misunderstood something and they were going to give me my visa, and then they find out that I was making a recording, because they probably have technology that could like, and I know they have technology that can tell if there are things going on. You know what I mean? So yeah, so that's kind of like, I got to think about that for a second. Because like I wouldn't, you know what I mean? It's like as a preemptive measure to record. I would love to record. I'd love to see her ass in the frying pan. I really would. To be honest with you, even though, oh my God, I have to absolve myself of these thoughts. Jesus Christ, Lord above, please forgive me for my evil thoughts. But yeah, so. Yeah, so I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do about that. We'll see what happens. You know what? It might be a blessing too if they do try to bribe me and stuff like that. Like I've been with my wife for almost 30 years now, and shit, fuck it, if they don't give me the visa, maybe I'll just start traveling. I'll start walking east or west. Depending on how adventurous I am. I would advise walking east, because Laos and Vietnam are very, very hospitable places right now. Maybe I'll just do that. I don't know. Go on an adventure. Just keep walking. Who knows? That's the amazing thing about whatever kind of reality you choose to live in. Like that could be my reality. I could just like up and leave. All right, I had enough. Thanks. Yeah, I'm not giving you guys any more money. I'm just gonna start walking. Yeah. Maybe try to swim to Hawaii. That'd be a world record. Probably get eaten by sharks. Anyway. That's my story about the visa situation and everything like that this morning. And it's not over. It'll be later today to find out the answer. And God willing, everything will work out in a favorable manner. I had to look at the license plate. That's the same car my wife drives. I thought she was slowing down, because I was like, maybe this is my wife, but that's not our license plate. So that's a good thing. So yeah, Oh, so yeah, I wanted to get into another thing. Just one little topic that I did like to just dip into, is that like growing up, I really wasn't the best kid. Like basically, when I say not the best kid, I mean like I dropped out of school very early. Hung out with people on the streets and stuff like that. And when I saw a lot of things that I think I've mentioned already. I'm not going to mention the things that I saw when I was young, whatever. I'm just going to get to the point where I turned 14. So when I turned 14, around 14 years old, I had never cursed at my mother or my father ever in my life. I never said anything like that. But my father was an alcoholic, right? And he used to like to hit me, right? And he he just hit me like out of the blue, like and sometimes very embarrassing experiences I remember, But he'd like come and hit me, right? So one day he'd been drinking, and we used to live in a brownstone, right? And he'd been drinking, and I'm going up the stairs. Oh no, was I going up the stairs? Down? I think I was going down the stairs, right? Because I was going to go out, like at 7 o'clock at night or something like that, or whatever. I don't know what. I don't really remember if it was at night or whatever, but I do remember this. He comes out, and he kind of storms towards me, and he raises his hand, and he's about to hit me. Right, and he raised his hand like he's gonna hit me, and I looked him dead in his eyes, and I said to him this, I said, if you hit me when you're sleeping tonight, I'm gonna come down and I'm gonna cut your throat. And all the blood went out of his face and head. Right, he was in shock. And he put his hand down, and he didn't say a word, and he just turned and marched right back to wherever he was doing what he was doing, and and then after that was business as usual, like he didn't not or anything like that, but he never hit me again. He had to think about that one. You know what I'm saying? Put chills in somebody's spine. That's some crazy shit. You know what I mean? But anyway, so, all right. Xfinity says those types of people really piss me off too. Just stand your ground and think, and I think you'll be good. Believe in their BS, 100%. And then Xfinity goes on to say, unrelated to what you record this stream, do you just hold your camera or do you have your camera attached to you? I just hold my camera in the hand. And, I feel kind of like I don't want to be one of those people with a selfie stick or something like that. I don't know. Maybe I could get it like a hat and put it on my. I don't know. I just hold it. I just hold it and talk and walk. Excuse me. Then Xfinity says, "Yeah, well, that's grim as hell. Glad you figured it out, though. Look, I couldn't have figured it out without you guys, to be able to bounce off thoughts and stuff like that. So big ups to all of you and many thanks. Appreciate it. Because you guys sound like you're talking real, and I know you're talking real, So I do appreciate that. So this is going to be a group effort. Don't let the big dude. I was making a joke yesterday about being a big dude because I do weigh like 250 and I'm 6'2" and a half or whatever, right? That's that's a little bigger than average. And in the United States, I'm not a big dude. You know what I mean? Like I've seen guys made me look tiny. I'm serious. I felt like I would be a baby in their arms if they picked me up or something like that. They have people that big in the United States, but over here, I'm a big dude because everybody weighs about 100 pounds and they're about 5 feet tall. So that's also sort of a joke because you do have some big Thai people and they do weigh more than 100 pounds. But that being said, also, never think that you're a big dude over here, because if you mess around and try to be a bully or screw over Thai people, you'll find out a reason. You'll find out, you know what? Actually, I have a better way of saying it. You'll find out the meaning behind the word unity. I think that's a good idea, a good way to describe it. You will find out what unity means. I'm sure there are videos on YouTube you can take a look at and see if some Westerners coming over, trying to act hard and everything and like that. And they find out what the word unity means. You know what I'm saying? Even the old grandma, 95 years old, she's going to come out from the house with a broomstick for your ass. Every single Thai person within half a mile or a mile will be on top of you. You know? That reminds me of something too. Like, remember when you're young enough, like if you were at school, like, but when I was at school, right? We used to have fights in the playground, sometimes fights in the classroom and stuff like that, right? And we just like fighting, right? And we even had like rankings, like who was the best fighter in the school. The school I went to was called PS 261, right? Who was the best fighter? So there was Maurice, he was the best fighter. The second best fighter was a guy named Samir, and yours truly was number 3. So I felt very proud of that at the time. But the thing is that when you think that like fighting is like some sort of an answer or something like that, I remember another part when I was in my early teens. I was like having, maybe I was just, my head had a problem, whatever. My thinking had a problem, and I was like, trying to get into it with somebody, or about to get into it with somebody with it. And he looked at me and he gave a line like I gave to my father. And he looks at me and he says, "We don't fight with our hands around here." And I thought about that for a second. And I decided that all the rage inside me had dissipated, and I turned around and walked away. And that taught me a big lesson, because, there's no such thing as a fair fight. Not even in the UFC or boxing, whatever, WBO, WBC, WBA. All those matches are fixed. There's no such thing as a fair fight, except when you have faith and believe in a higher power. Then that's not a fair fight. That's a fair deal, because you expect nothing. You have nothing. Once you relieve yourself of all expectations, like, I don't expect anything from anybody. If you expect something from somebody, like they're supposed to behave a certain way, speak a certain way, do a certain thing, whatever, you're lost. It's no concern of yours, really, unless they're getting in your face and attacking you, to even be thinking about that. Because, you're putting an expectation on somebody, your values or whatever it is. I don't have those expectations. I don't expect shit. I don't, if I give somebody, let's say I gave my friend $100, I don't even expect, he says he's going to pay me back. I don't expect to see the money back. No, I mean, that's stupid. Why would I expect to see it back? You know what I mean? Like, I could also go the route. Anybody want to lend me $100,000? Don't expect to get paid back. I'm sorry. No, I'll pay you back. Well, I would. Xfinity says, seems like this is going to be it for me. Pretty late night here. I'll see you around next stream. Goodbye. Thank you very much for stopping by, and likewise here. This is a good time for us all to say goodbye. It was a fantastic and wonderful chat. Xfinity, Scott74, and all you guys and gals in the chat, I hope you have a wonderful day. You're all blessed. People love you out there. And wherever you are in the world, all I have to say is good morning, good afternoon, and good